To manage the queries or the connections that you've established, I think the easiest way is actually to go to Power Pivot. When you go to the Power Pivot tab in the ribbon and you click the Manage button, what you'll find is there's an Existing Connections button. So if you click that, you can actually see what Power Pivot connections you've got as opposed to what workbook connections you've got. So these were the ones we just connected to only. Whereas these ones are actually queries that have actually downloaded into the workbook, actually loaded into the workbook. Now, I'm going to close here and go and switch back to the workbook. If I go to data, there's this little button here, get data from using an existing connection. And if I just widen my Excel window so the button looks bigger, here it is here too. So I'm going to go into existing connections. These are all the connections in this workbook listed here. So we can see that we've got those things that we loaded, and we can see also that we've got product costs and financials that we connected to. We can go into tables and we can see what tables are in the workbook's data model. So this is talking about Galloping Gourmet, and these are the tables that we've connected to and the range within the sheet within that table. And we can check these out. Whereas this one here, financials and products costs, these are queries that are connected to as opposed to these which are loaded into the data model. But in addition to this workbook, which is your Galloping Gourmets, you've got another workbook open in the background, well I have, called Miller Textiles. And so it's also showing me the tables that are in the Miller Textiles file. And there's 3 of them and where they came from. We can see all tables or workbook tables or connection tables. So those are just connections. These are workbook tables, so they're actually loaded and not connected. And these are all tables, whether they're connected or workbook. So that's interesting. And back to connections here. Now these are all the connections in this workbook. So that narrows it down to this workbook or on the network or on this computer. So you can actually sort of drill into those as well, but I'm just saying all connections. And so you can open those connections as well. So that's quite handy, being able to look at existing connections through the data tab in the ribbon, but also being able to go to Power Pivot and manage and look at existing connections this way and refresh those connections and delete those connections and edit those connections. Yeah.